All right, good morning, everyone. Happy hump day. Quick sound check here in the essentials room. Make sure we are rocking and rolling. Hey, what's up, Mirza, Lorna, Tony, Kurt, Omer? All right, guys. So first order of business, take a look at our sheet here, and everything's pretty bullish. S&P's get a 56, the Dow Jones gets a 56, RSP 54, the QQQ a 50. And then on the Big 14, Netflix is a beast. And we'll take a look at Netflix here in a second. That gets a 60. Broadcom gets a 60. You've got Tesla, TSM, Amazon, all kinds of good stuff. And then, with the exception of healthcare and biotech, all the sectors looking pretty good as well. So, a couple things for today. Today, tomorrow, into Friday. If we jump over to the futures real quick, S&P futures and the NQ. On the S&P futures, major thing I would watch here would be this 4-hour squeeze. And we have a 2-hour and a 1-hour. When a 4-hour squeeze fires, that can really pack a punch. So my thinking is the next bigger, more meaningful move for the market probably comes from that 4-hour squeeze firing. For now, I would think to the upside, but of course, it could also fire to the downside. And then same thing here for the NQ. So for your Apples, the Metas, Teslas, Nvidias, Netflixes of the world, if the NQ can take that 4-hour squeeze, fire that to the upside, should bode well for your tech semi names. They take the 4-hour squeeze, they break the thing short. Might be room for a bit of a pullback. Based on the structure of the chart, I could only call for a move higher for now. The one missing piece would be momentum. So what I don't think they'll do is I don't think they'll take that 4-hour squeeze, break out the NQ, and push towards 20,500 if we've got 4-hour momentum below zero. If they can hook the MACD back into a positive reading, then I think a much better chance they take the squeeze and get that job done to the upside. So keep an eye on that in the futures. And then for the cash product, S&P's QQQ, 15-minute on the S&Ps, which if anything might be good for a pop here this morning. And then the cash QQQ, QQQ has a 15-minute, a 5-minute, and a 1-hour. This kind of goes hand in hand with that 4-hour squeeze on the NQ. Trend is bullish. The structure is bullish. If they get the MACD cross, pretty good chance they fire that to the upside. So a couple things for you to watch on the indexes, and then we'll do Netflix first. Let me try to find my screenshot from yesterday. Yeah, so this is yesterday afternoon, maybe an hour and a half into the session. All right, Netflix gets an A+ squeeze on the weekly, the daily, the 2-hour, the 1-hour, 30-minute time frame. At the same time, you had a buy signal on a weekly chart down to a 1-minute. So as far as a setup that can actually get a good move going, that's about as good as it gets. 1-hour squeeze fired, that got a push going. That triggered the 2-hour squeeze to break long. And that all kicks off the push towards that 720 call wall. From here this morning, the call wall goes to 750. So it's gone from 700 to 720, now into 750. The beautiful thing is the daily squeeze hasn't even fired. When it fires, I think you're looking for 740, 750. Even better, you've got that weekly squeeze. When that fires, if it fires, you're looking for 775-ish. So I love the fact that you caught the initial push. And that took about 6,000 or 7,000 of profit out of it yesterday. I want to find a spot to add more. Beautiful daily squeeze, beautiful weekly squeeze. The strongest name on the sheet. along with Broadcom. That remains my favorite pick. What I also like, let me go grab Spot Gamma and I'll show you. But what I also like this morning, let's see, Spot Gamma. If we go look into Netflix, let's see, Netflix history. All right, so the call wall goes to 750, meaning that could be your next big target. 750 could be a big magnet for price out of that daily squeeze. The put wall also goes to 700, which means there's a pretty good chance before that daily squeeze fires, if Netflix pulls back a bit, they should hold support at the previous call wall down there at 700 bucks. I think it makes for a pretty simple game plan. Anywhere above that 700, you're trying to find a spot to buy it, playing for a push towards, if you want to play the daily squeeze, play for a push towards 740, 750. If you want to play for the weekly squeeze, of course, give that trade a little more time till expiration, but your weekly target would be closer to 775. From there, think in terms of risk reward. If I buy it at 720, and I'm looking for a push towards, we'll call it 740, if I just buy the shares, which I'm not doing, I'm buying the options, but if I just bought the equity, I've got about 20 bucks of reward. In exchange for what kind of risk? Well, I want to anchor to that 700 level, but to be fair, it's a good looking daily squeeze all the way down to about 690. If they hold it above the weekly mean, it's a pretty solid setup. From that point of view, I've got 20 bucks of reward in exchange for potentially 20, 30 bucks of downside if the squeeze fails to fire and they pull that back towards the buy zone. And again, I'm not buying the equity, I'm doing the options. So options aren't always going to be as straightforward. If I could buy it at, say, 710, now I think I'm on the better side of risk reward. I'm risking maybe 10, 15 bucks to catch potentially 30, 40. So I like the squeeze. What I'm trying to say is you want to buy that in a fashion where if you jump in and buy calls today, and then by Friday, Netflix is boogieing back to 710, 710, 700. You don't want that to be the end of the world. If I buy Netflix today, I'm actually thinking, I don't mind if we pull back towards 700. Maybe I can pick up a little bit more. But as far as a good squeeze, I love that one. And then let's go jump to Meta. Now, Meta had a daily squeeze, which kind of left me in the dust here. Really nice move. And then if we jump to the weekly chart, that is the big boy. Right? If then statements, if the squeeze fires, probabilities point towards a move towards 600, 625. That's if the squeeze fires. From an indicator perspective, what's missing to help that squeeze fire? It's not the structure of the chart, right? 21 above the 50, stacked EMAs. It's not the trend of the chart, momentum. So really good example of this is the 4-hour squeeze on Google from a couple of months ago. The blue arrow, blue candle means you have everything except momentum. Energy building up in a squeeze, good structure, stacked EMAs, you're in a good trend, but you still got the MACD below zero. Most times you don't get that push higher until they take it back above zero. They'll pop it, they'll flush it. They'll pop it again, they'll flush it again. You finally get that MACD cross. Then the squeeze fires. So take that mental image over to the weekly for Meta, and it's the only thing missing. MACD crosses back above zero, and yeah, I would not fight that weekly squeeze. I think you can look for another 40, 50, 60 bucks of upside. As far as where to buy it, uh, in a perfect world, and it ain't always perfect, but in a perfect world, yeah, I'd love to buy that on a pullback to the weekly 21 EMA around 510. I don't think we're getting a $50 pullback in Meta. My next best option, sit back, be patient, wait for a really clean lower time frame squeeze. I want to call for a move higher because of the weekly squeeze, but then as far as finding a spot to plant my seed, the next really good looking 2 hour, 1 hour, 30-minute, even 15-minute squeeze. Right, give me a 1 hour squeeze like Netflix. A plus setup, white dot, all the bells and whistles. That's where I want to jump in and buy some Meta. If not on that lower time frame squeeze, then on the pullback, if such a thing could exist. So some Netflix, some Meta, and then Broadcom is up next. The only little asterisk here for these semis, Micron has earnings tonight. Now, I don't tend to think of Micron as an overly important name in the group. But yeah, if they gap it down 20% tomorrow, it's probably not going to help the SMH. So keep that in mind. But for the Broadcom here, I think compared to all the other semis, a lot to like here. The daily chart gets a score of 12 compared to Micron with a score of -3, AMD with a 6, NVIDIA with a 9. A 9 ain't too bad. Even the SMH has a 7. Broadcom's a little stronger than the overall group. And then on the weekly squeeze here, if-then statements. If they fire that squeeze to the upside, you look for a move to about 2.5 to 3 ATR. That's 200, 205-ish. The way I'm thinking of playing this one, let me look at the chain. Just kind of like the idea of a 200 call fly. Let's see, $10 wide. Yeah, I'm kind of digging that idea. $10 wide, 200 call fly. November monthly expiration. And the benefit, of course, of the butterfly is a really good risk reward. So I could throw on, a couple $1,000 into that call fly, be really comfortable with the max loss, and then towards end of October, early November, lo and behold, squeeze fires, and boom, we're off towards 200. Can deliver a nice paycheck. That might be the move. 50 plus days till expiration, good risk reward. And if anything, you could take a scale in approach. You're giving the idea until November. So maybe up here around that 175, you take half your typical size. And then on a pullback to 160, maybe you go ahead and add the other half. You could do a call fly. You could buy out the money calls. You could do a few different things here. But the thinking would be give that trade enough time to see if that weekly squeeze can get the job done. I like it. I like it. It also has a 3-day squeeze, which can lead to a bigger move. 3-day squeeze fires, then the weekly squeeze fires. Got to get momentum shifting. But yeah, compared to the other semis, I am liking Broadcom here. And then speaking of the semis, NVIDIA, not as clean as Broadcom, but I think a few early signs. It might be coming back to life here. Little tiny details. Now, first observation, there's a weekly, 3-day, 2-day, 4-hour squeeze. So we already know across a few bigger time frames, all the energy is getting built up. It might be a week down the road. It might be a month and a half down the road. At some point, they got to go ahead and release all the energy. And that, my friends, is where we can get paid. So, couple squeezes. We have daily momentum ever so slightly shifting back above zero. We have ever so slightly 21 EMA back above the 50. And a good close yesterday above the 21. Again, smaller details, but a few things that point towards the price might stabilize. They can hold it firm above that 21 EMA. Then I think you call for a path higher. Let's go see the 4-hour. Brand new 4-hour squeeze, so a little early there. I think you give this time to develop. But one theme I'm seeing right now, a lot of bigger time frame squeezes. 9 times out of 10, whether it's Amazon, Apple, NVIDIA, Netflix, these bigger time frame squeezes, they tend to move in the direction of the overall market. Just so happens, we've got a brand new weekly squeeze here on the QQQ as well. Take the market day by day. No biases, no assumptions, but at the same time, take a step back, see the bigger picture. See, I think, a little bit of the potential setting up. If the QQQ fires that weekly squeeze, if they take out the highs, there should be a path into 520, 530. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but we're working on if-then statements. If they get the MACD cross, if they fire the squeeze long, we're looking for 520 plus. Now, if that is the outcome, and I don't know, but if it is the outcome, what do you think happens to the weekly squeeze over here on Netflix? Which is beautiful. It's very likely going to fire to the upside. Netflix becomes a $780 stock. What about the weekly squeeze there for Meta? Well, if the QQQ can fire long, Meta becomes a $600+ stock. Amazon weekly squeeze target around 220. Apple on the 3-day squeeze target of 250. Again, not saying any of these are going to work, but when I'm with y'all on Monday and Wednesday, as the weeks go by here, let's keep watching that weekly squeeze and the Qs develop. It might be a month, might be 2 months from now. Eventually, it's going to fire. Whether it fires long or whether it fires short, it's going to make for some really good swing trading. But all right, those are the major things I got for you this morning. At the open, I would watch the 1-hour squeeze for the Qs and see if that can't get a push going for us. You also have the 4-hour on the NQ and the ES. And should the Bulls keep control here, excuse me, I love the daily and the weekly squeeze here for Netflix. I love the weekly squeeze here for Meta. I like the weekly squeeze for Broadcom. And then a few more, but for the most part, those are my major picks. But listen, folks, I got to hit the road here. I got to help my mom out real quick. and then I got to get back for the open with the folks in my room. So as always, thank you for your time this morning. I appreciate y'all being here. For you fine folks in my room, I will catch you in about 15 or so minutes, and we'll get the party going. Adios, y'all.